The man was horrified to discover that the spaceship he was on would take another 90 years to reach the new home. He saw that the other passengers were still in their hibernation states and he couldn't wait to go back into his pod and sleep again, but the machine wouldn't start. So he desperately began to bang on the walls of the pod. Finally he managed to get out without being trapped inside. Jim quickly made his way to the ship's communication room and reported his situation to Earth. He wanted to know what he could do to get back into the hibernation pod and sleep again. But the screen displayed that the message would travel via laser beams and take 19 years to reach Earth. A response would take another 55 years. Jim felt utterly crushed. Was he going to die alone in this endless void of space? He went to the captain's quarters hoping to wake up the captain, but as a regular passenger he had no access to the room. Jim tried everything to pry open the door, but nothing worked. In order to survive, Jim began enjoying all the entertainment facilities on the ship, indulging in endless feasts. He even broke into the president's suite to make it his new home. Soon a year passed. Jim's once gentle nature turned aggressive, his loneliness unbearable. In a moment of despair, Jim went to the edge of the ship planning to open the airlock and end it all. This would end his suffering. But after a fierce internal struggle, Jim regained his composure. He quickly stepped away from the airlock, trying to prevent himself from making a rash decision. As he stumbled and fell over a bottle, he looked up and was stunned. There in the opposite hibernation pod lay a beautiful woman. Jim's heart raced. He searched the database and found her profile. Her name was Aurora and her personality and experiences were strikingly similar to his. It was as if she was the woman the universe had prepared for him. Jim quickly devised a plan with the bartender robot to wake her up. He couldn't bear the thought of dying alone in space. He cut off his long hair and went to Aurora's pod. Using his tools, he pried open the hibernation chamber. As she slowly began to wake, Jim nervously left the scene, feeling like a child who had done something wrong. He was afraid of what might happen when Aurora woke up. Aurora, just like Jim, was confused, wondering why no one else had woken up. Jim lied, saying there was a malfunction with the pods and that now only the two of them were awake on the ship. Aurora was alarmed and frantic, not wanting to die on the spaceship. She desperately tried to break into the captain's quarters with a hammer, but the door wouldn't budge. Aurora began to lose hope. To calm her down, Jim spent every day with her, keeping her company and playing with the entertainment systems. Aurora slowly began to adjust to life on the ship, even sharing her golden traveler's package with Jim. But deep down, Jim felt overwhelming guilt. He knew he was the one who had woken her up. He decided to keep this secret buried in his heart. As time passed, the two grew closer and closer, eventually deciding to be together. They began to see the spaceship as their home. When Jim felt the time was right, he planned to propose to Aurora. But to his surprise, Aurora learned through the bartender robot that Jim was the one who had woken her up. The man she had trusted most had been the one to awaken her. Aurora was devastated, her heartbreak even more intense than when she had first awoken. She now saw Jim as a murderer, someone who had selfishly dragged her into a tomb in space. Feeling guilty, Jim could only communicate through the ship's intercom, telling Aurora everything he had experienced and expressing his sincere apologies.
I don't care!
And so they stopped speaking to each other, each living in their own solitude.